Hi there, this is Tony from pianotone.ca, and this is my second video in a series I'm making on recording with the Yamaha PSR-E473 and PSR-EW425 keyboards. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate some ways in which you can add a custom percussion count-in or even a longer custom percussion intro to a multi-track onboard MIDI recording that is using a built-in style. This is something that could really help in creating your own backing tracks. Let's check it out. Okay, so in this video, I am going to be assuming that you already know how to record multi-track MIDI songs on these keyboards. If you don't know how to do that, then please watch my first video in this series, which goes over that topic. I'll link to that video in the description below. Okay, so I've always enjoyed playing songs over backing tracks, and I've tried all sorts of backing tracks out. I've bought tracks from Jam Zone or Karaoke version, which has the advantage of somebody else having done all the work, so I can just get started playing the song right away. And I've also tried making my own backing tracks with iReal Pro or GarageBand or Band in a Box. And that can give me a bit more control over the track, but can also be pretty time consuming. That's one of the reasons I purchased the PSR-EW425 keyboard, was to try and create my own backing tracks using the keyboard, taking advantage of the built-in rhythms and accompaniment. So for the most part, the Jam Zone backing tracks I've bought in the past are pretty much better quality and much closer to the original song than any of the ones I've made myself. And they can also be super handy for songs that have, really unique rhythms or instruments or arrangements. Songs like Strawberry Fields Forever or A Day in the Life by the Beatles are good examples. But there's always been one big issue with their tracks. I play and sing along to a lot of piano ballads that often start with nothing but piano and vocals. So if I am playing the piano part and singing the vocals, and as such I've muted those parts in Jam Zone, the only way I can make sure that I'm in time with the other instruments, like drums and bass and guitar, when they come in, is to enable the built-in metronome or click track that's built into Jam Zone. Now this works fine, but the click doesn't sound very good. I actually contacted Jam Zone to see if they could change this sound to a hi-hat or a cymbal or something, and they said no. So for those kinds of songs, I pretty much have no choice but to listen to and have anyone I'm playing for also listen to this click track, or to try making my own, which is what I've done using iReal Pro or Band in a Box. So will I be able to make a backing track with some type of custom percussion intro using my Yamaha PSR-EW425 keyboard? I can. There are two options here. The first one is an easier but a little bit less flexible option. The second one gives you much more flexibility and control, but it is a bit more challenging to implement. So if you've made any multi-track MIDI recordings using your PSR keyboard, you might be wondering, how can we add custom percussion to the start of the song? Because you have to start recording the style right from the start of a song. You can't just start the style partway through the song. And while these keyboards do have an intro that you can trigger at the start of a song that's specific to whatever style you've chosen, there's a good chance that this intro isn't going to be exactly what you want, and also a good chance it will be too long or too short. So let's check out these two options. And also, if you're wondering what this fancy cardboard box is I have on my keyboard stand, I finally figured out a way to get a nice recording of the screen on my PSR keyboard while I'm doing a demonstration video with the hole that's cut in there, and I can just stick an iPhone in there to record it. So let's check it out. Okay, so the first easier option. This is where you're going to find a style that has a very basic A variation, and then use that for your intro, and then switch to the B variation for the body of the song. I'm sure there's lots more within the 290 styles on these keyboards, but I've found a couple. Style number 60, Unplugged, and number 63, Guitar Ballad, both have very simple A variations. I'm just going to demo those quickly. I'll hit Style, go to number 60, and then hit Start. And that's actually B. I'm going to switch over to A here. Seeing here, it's just basically like a hi-hat with a couple of other little small percussion things in there. So that's really plain. And I'm going to go to Guitar Ballad, is 63. This one's got a bass drum on one, and then kind of a hi-hat on the rest of it. So also very basic. So for example, I could make a backing track for a song like Let It Be that starts with just the very simple A variation, and then gradually adds other style parts and uses the B variation as a busier option. So I'm going to set my tempo to 70, just slow that down just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to hit Style, And then I'm going to make sure I'm on variation A. Then I'm going to hit record. I'm going to mute everything except for the drums, which is track number 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and just hit a C chord to start the recording. You're not going to hear anything except for the drums because everything else is muted. The first measure is just going to be a count in, and then I'm going to play a couple more measures with just that simple drum beat, so just the hi-hat thing. And then I'll start adding in a little bit more of the accompaniment, and then I'll switch to variation B. Let's see how this goes. Throw in more style parts, but you get the idea. I'm going to hit stop. So I'm actually going to switch my voice to piano. So I'll hit play and try to play along. So that's a pretty easy option, but one limitation with that option that may or may not be an issue for you is if you're picking a style that has a really plain or simple variation A so that you can use it for a custom count-in style, kind of a custom intro like I just did, you're possibly limiting yourself a little bit if you don't want to go back to that simple variation in the song. So that way you end up kind of being stuck with variation B for the rest of the song because these keyboards only have the 2 variations. Okay, so option 2, which does give you a lot more flexibility, but it does take more work. This one will allow you to pick any style you want, and variation A can be as busy as you want it to be. The basic idea with option 2 is that you start the style at the start of the song because you have no choice, but you have all of the style parts, including the drums, muted. Then you can use one of the drum kit voices built into the keyboard to manually play whatever drums you want, and for however long you want. And once you want to let the style take over, you can stop playing your manual drum kit and just start unmuting the drums and other accompany parts. And I'll explain later why this is, but you don't have to worry about totally nailing your manual drumming here. It's actually much more important that you just get the right number of measures recorded, and that when the accompaniment comes in, that you totally nail all of the accompaniment parts, so all the chord changes, the variations, etc. That's because once the accompaniment is recorded, starting from the correct spot in the song, then you can have as many attempts as you want at recording or re-recording your manual drums at the start. So for this example, I'm just going to quickly choose a drum kit as my main voice. So I hit voice, and then I'm going to go up to $299, which is the rock kit. So if you're feeling ambitious, you could record drums that are as complex as you like. So you could be doing stuff like this. I'm not really a great finger drummer, as you can probably tell. So, and I also want to keep this video short, so I'm going to keep my drums very simple. I'm just going to play a measure using a hi-hat as a count-in, and a couple more measures of just the hi-hat. Then I'll add a bass drum, and then I'll unmute the drums in the style for the next measure and let the style drums take over. But before I get started, I need to shift the octave of my keyboard down one, and you might need to do the same to be able to access whatever drum sounds you want. This is because when you have the accompaniment turned on, if I turn the accompaniment on here, the keys in this range of the keyboard aren't going to be accessible, and those might be drum sounds that I want. I'm just going to turn accompaniment back off for a second, and then I'm going to shift the octave down one. So now this bass drum that I had wanted is now up here, and that hi-hat is up here. Before, they were inaccessible because they were down in the range that the accompaniment is using. So I'm going to hit Style. Then I'm going to make sure I'm on Variation A. Then I'm going to hit Record, and then I'm going to mute all of the style parts, including the drums, which is track 1. And I'm also going to need to turn the metronome on here, because in that way I'm going to be able to actually stay in time for when the style drums take over from my manual drumming. And then I can play to get it started. So you get the idea, and then I would basically continue on and just do the accompaniment changes as normal. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my voice back to piano by playing along with this and see how this sounds. Actually, I'm going to hit stop here, and I'm going to switch my octave back because I don't need the octave switched on the piano. Playing with the style. Missed a couple of notes there, but anyway, you get the idea. Now, the reason I had mentioned before is that you don't have to totally nail your manual drumming is because now that the style has been recorded, pretend I had actually done the whole song and the style was perfect and all my chord changes were perfect. Now, if I wanted to, I could re-record the drum kit as many times as I wanted. So I could hit voice. Let's go back to 299. Then I could hit record and hold down number 1, and that's just going to overwrite my original drum track. So then I could do this again, and I'll change it up a bit just so that you can see the difference. And the style, that's where the spot where the style came in. So I hit stop, and then I'll just hit play so that you can hear that changed. So now it's using the tom instead of the bass drum. So you can take as many cracks as you want at recording the custom intro. So that's how you can add a custom drum intro into your multi-track MIDI songs recorded on your Yamaha PSR-E473 or PSR-EW425 keyboards. And if you're a good finger drummer, you'll be able to add drumming that's as complex as you like. Keep in mind, though, that since these keyboards do not have punch-in, which allows you to start recording a track partway through, that you do have to play every track perfectly from start to finish. So manually drumming through an entire song could be challenging, at least for me, but I am new at this. What I could see myself using this for almost all the time, though, is to add count-ins to my backing tracks. Some arranger keyboards have the ability to just include a count-in, but these keyboards unfortunately do not. Hopefully that's something Yamaha can add for the next generation. So that's basically it for this video. As I mentioned in the introduction, I have at least 2 more videos on recording on the PSR-E473 or PSR-EW425 keyboards coming in the near future. One of them is going to be how to open your multi-track recording in a DAW like GarageBand for additional editing on a PC or an iPad or something. and also a video on how to do audio recordings on the PSR-E473 or PSR-EW425 keyboards. So thanks a bunch for checking out this video. If you like the content, please feel free to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. That does really help me out. As I continue to add other videos in this recording series, I'm going to be adding links to them in the description below. So I have a link there for my first video on how to record multi-track songs on these keyboards. And I've also thrown in some links to some online piano training that has worked super well for me, as well as a link to my first original song on piano, Walk With You. So thanks again for stopping by. Happy keyboard playing and recording, and have an awesome day.